Spider-Man grew up, guys. Can you believe that? From one baby face to another. I've got to say, congrats, man. Really, this is exciting stuff. So let's talk Cherry. Or Chirk. Whatever. Nico Walker's on his way to living a bum life right now. Whenever his girlfriend says that she's going to move away for school, he decides he's going to join the army, and that starts a domino effect which leads him into drugs, bank robberies. This story is the story of Nico Walker's descent into hell, pretty much. The trailer to this is very exciting. Full Metal Jacket meets Train Spotting with a ton of style, and the Russo Brothers taking a break from the superhero movies to make a movie about a man dragging himself through his own custom-made hell. That is the type of thing that if you pull it off, Film Twitter's about to call you genius. On a serious note, this movie is based on the life of Nico Walker, more specifically based on the book Nico Walker wrote on his own life. Very clearly, he went through some dark things in his life, which leads us to the main point. Cherry the movie is a complete waste of your time. It is a cynical movie that does not care about Nico Walker at all. Now, it really cares about all that nasty stuff that he went through, and it loves that it gets to film it like it's Goodfellas. But when you care about a character so little that you don't even develop them over the course of 2.5 hours, it gets a tad boring. Keep these movies in mind. Clockwork Orange, Train Spotting, Requiem for a Dream, Goodfellas, any of the time Scorsese remade Goodfellas. Why do people love those movies? We love those movies for being hugely subversive and making us sympathize with deeply troubled characters. And they do that while being incredibly dark, stylish, even funny. That's why they're controversial. More importantly, that's why they're still talked about. Cherry desperately wants to be one of these movies. It wants to grow its little dark story inside of this stylish package and then ship it off to the halls of cult cinema, but it's never gonna happen. Firstly, Cherry doesn't care about Nico Walker at all. It treats pivotal moments in Nico's life like insignificant plot points that it just has to kind of shuffle over before we can get to the cool stuff. Oh, and Tom Holland's voiceover is way more important than any type of character development we could do. Turns out character motivation is actually pretty boring. There is such little care put into the first 30 minutes of this movie. It is a slap in the face to make a movie that wants to be this cool while at the same time giving us a character that it clearly doesn't want to develop in a meaningful way. Reason number 2, what do we get in the place of good character development? Scrap that, any character development. Voiceovers and shock tactics. Voiceover gives you the capability of giving multiple perspectives on a character and also making very big time jumps in between scenes, covering way more ground than you could in a story if you didn't have voiceover. If you treat the voiceover as the only way that we get to know this character and you don't give us any meaningful scenes in between all that voiceover, an hour of that gets really grating. Kids, if you ever wondered the difference between good and bad voiceover, watch Cherry. So what are all those scenes in between the voiceover? Shock tactics. That's the only other thing this movie uses to get you to sympathize with this character. So at its best, what this movie offers is people shooting heroin, puking, dying in war, and robbing banks. Don't get me wrong, that's not a bad move on the movie's part. This story actually needs that stuff. Requiem for a Dream is a gajillion times nastier than this movie, and it's also way better. Every scene is supposed to be a building block around which our sympathy grows for the character. This movie doesn't have any time for that building block stuff. It just wants to show you the nasty stuff and just kind of be done with it. Thirdly, the style of this movie is beyond pretentious. The main character in the movie robs several banks throughout the movie, and as he's robbing them, you'll see the title of the bank on the wall or the front of the building, and it'll be things like A Bank, Shitty Bank, Capital None. Now, hey, that looks pretty clever. Does this movie say anything about the corruption of the banking establishment? No. Then why do it? It wants to be clever. This movie thinks that it is the most clever thing around, but it has nothing to say, and that is so annoying. To its credit, the movie does have a unique visual style. The problem is that that style is built on a foundation of bleh. That's about it. This movie wants to look cool, but doesn't have anything to say. The movie sucks. Russo Brothers, if you want to exploit comic books, go ahead. But to do it with an interesting true story and treat all the characters like nothing more than plot point caricatures in a stylish cartoon, it's actually not offensive at all, but it's boring as hell.